Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast and Podcast. I am your host, Sharifah Hardy, and I have a very entertaining, informative, and interesting show for you today. My guest I met about a month ago when she joined me on the first episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. Then we had such a great time, she came back again. And we had such a great time. She came back again. And she said, you know what? I got to do this all by myself. So we're taking the next hour or so to speak to someone I have enjoyed learning about, Marlana White. Good afternoon, Marlana. How are you?
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I am wonderful. You look lovely. Is that a vision board behind you? What do we have going on here?
Actually, it's just more about kind of what I do. This is more about my High Priestess Marlana page. This is from High Priestess HP Marlana YouTube channel. So this is just allowing people to know kind of what I do. It's really highlighting the High Priestess in me, to fear less. It's all about your goddess nature, the divine feminine. That's what I'm all about. So everything that I do, it has that at the core.
That's one of the things that I enjoy about you is that you're never the same. You always change it up. There's a different scene behind you. There's a different set. When we first started talking, we were focused on one aspect. A couple of shows later, we were focused on another aspect. The third show, you were pulling cards for us. I was like, wow, I love people who are just multifaceted, and you have a lot going on. Tell us a little bit more about what you have going on, Marlana.
I do. I have so much going on. Like you said, of course, everything that I do, like I said, the base is really empowerment, everything that I do. So for my YouTube channel, but then I started a body line because I wanted an all natural body line. Actually, I'm also a women's advocate for natural birthing. I also am a birthing teacher, a natural birthing teacher. I also started a CBD line as of late. That's like the more recent thing that I've done, but I have a honey bath. I have body butters. I have and then I just started, actually my newest baby is my CBD margaritas. So I want to, give you guys the opportunity to just kind of see how you make it, how quick it is to make it, how you can actually enjoy it. Especially right now during this pandemic, my goal has been keeping everyone positive, uplifted, feeling good about themselves. CBD helps with that. It's different from marijuana in that it doesn't have the THC, or it has a minimum amount of THC, which is the part of the marijuana that in essence kind of gives you the high or the euphoric feel. But with CBD, it gives you more of a calm, it take away the anxiety, the anxiousness, and things of that nature. So that coupled with my margarita, especially due to the holiday today, I just thought I'd indulge in that and kind of give you guys a little bit of that so you guys can hopefully try it or at least see how to make it. So when you're interested, you can definitely go to my website and get it.
We're going to check it out. I'm trying to figure out which holiday we're celebrating. Are we celebrating Taco Tuesday? Are we celebrating Cinco de Mayo?
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo on Taco Tuesday. I think that's the highlight of the day.
Yes. So I had to bring out the margaritas. I wanted to show you guys how simple it was to make just a small, cute little margarita. I mean, it's literally like in my CBD party packs, we have little bits of CBD drinks in them. So what we have is basically, in essence, it's the CBD drink here, which is the CBD margarita, and it has a powder in it, if you can notice there. But that powder is, in essence, everything that you would love to see in a margarita. It has the lime, the fresh lime taste in here. So if you want a natural, I was about to say organic, but it does have cane sugar in it. So if you want a natural, a good margarita with the CBD, so the good part about this, it has the CBD already in it. So you can make it with just water, and you just add a shot or 3 shots of water, and you can just have a drink. So it's basically about a 3 to 4 ounce drink, depending upon what you want. I added ice here as well, so it's about 4 ounces. This is an 8 ounce container here. But the whole goal here is you want to be able to put it in something that you can shake, because you're going to have to let it dissolve. So you can do it without the tequila, or you can do it with the tequila. And I love it both ways. But today we're doing it with the tequila.
Well, let's go with the tequila because I've never seen a margarita that had a point without tequila. I'm like, that's just lemonade without the tequila.
I mean,
Mm,
it tastes good. It really does. So I'm not going to tell you it doesn't taste good. So if you just need a CBD drink, just something that's, again, going to calm your nerves, have you feeling good, this is the way to go. If you want to make it into a margarita and add your favorite tequila, I have my favorite tequila here. I'm not even going to promote that right now. But the point is I have a top shelf tequila up in here, okay? So I just wanted to show you how easy it was to make, because literally all you have to do is put an ounce of the water and 2 ounces of tequila, and then you add the powder, and then you just shake it, and then you have your perfect margarita. So, and with the CBD in it. So actually, if you think you're going to have a hangover, let me tell you, no, you don't. You actually feel amazing the next morning, and it also allows you to kind of continue your day. It's not a downer at all. It's actually more of a relaxing feel, and you actually feel good no matter what. So I just had to show you guys that.
No, it's interesting. Which my mind, I'm always questions. What made you decide to get into CBD?
Honestly, okay, so let me backtrack. So I started Graceful Healing Retreat. When I started Graceful Healing Retreat, that incorporated many types of spiritual modalities of healing, and also then included my body line. So that's when I started out with the body butters and the honey bath and things of that nature. Like this here, this is the honey bath here, and literally it has, I mean, you think I'm playing, but it actually has honey. I mean, it's actually, like, you can see, I don't know if you guys can see, can you see that? That's
Tilted a
honey.
little bit.
You see the roses?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
they have roses in the calendula, and it smells of honeysuckle. So it has the
Okay.
natural fragrance of the rose, the natural fragrance of the lavender. It has calendula in it, and then you have the real honey. So like literally my base of this is honey and actually avocado oil. So the two coupled together is like the best vegan bath you're ever taking.
Okay.
And then as you saw the cinnamon stick in it, right? So it's
Yes.
amazing. So you put that in a bath. So I started doing spiritual baths and things of that nature. So as I continue to create, because I've gone to herbal studies and herbal schools and all kinds of stuff, but I am an accountant by trade, FYI.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Businesswoman.
No, that's interesting. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it was interesting because I do all the marketing, do the PR, do the talk show, do the videocast, podcast. I love to talk, but when I initially went to college, it was to be an accountant. So I tell people it has helped me because it has helped me with behind the scenes for my business and not just being able to talk and be the face of my business. So I get it. I get it. So kudos to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely. So that, I mean, with the business mindset and then coupled with the creativity, I just couldn't stop. I just had to enjoy life as it was. So more recently, I must say, I've gotten more of an inspiration to create. So I started the body butter line maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, and that's done well. So I really enjoyed the body butter and the honey bath. So I started that about 3 years ago. And then this year, actually 2019, this 2019, I started to really promote. I got a publicist, and I was really, working on getting them in stores and promoting it online, and just so people will understand what Graceful Healing Retreat was about. So we started doing more Graceful Healing Retreats. We started doing more of the ionic foot baths, more of the spiritual aspect of it. So I even started my HP Marlana, actually used to be called Graceful Healing Intuitive Tarot, but now it's now called HP Marlana YouTube page about 3 years ago too. So it just seemed like it's just been really kind of a domino effect, and it's just been growing. So it just grew a little bit here, then grew a little bit there, and then.
So let me ask you, because it really seems, just listening to you, like this is so simple. This is so easy. Like I just started this line, but I know manufacturing, creating products is not a very easy thing to do. What made you get into these type of products? Where did you get the recipes from? Do you do it all yourself, or is it something that maybe you get from a different line?
No, I actually made them all myself. Honestly, it's been me just following my instinct, following spirit guidance. Like I said, the inspiration has just been filling me. And one of the things that I've been telling people around this time is let that inspiration fill you. Enjoy life as it is. Do whatever comes to your heart to do. Like, you don't have to stop doing anything. I know before I started my retreat, I must shout out, Dr. Michelle Butler. She was one of the ladies who I worked with, one of the natural healing. She did Reiki Reiki. You know, I learned Reiki years ago, maybe about 10 or 15 years ago. I got into Reiki. So I started moving on into like the natural healing line, natural healing modalities. Actually 20 years ago when I had my daughter and wanted to have a natural birth. So once I started that, and then it continued, like I said, to kind of grow. One of the things she said to me before I opened up Graceful Healing Retreat, because I kept telling her, well, maybe I need to get another certificate in that, or maybe I need to go get a master's degree in this, or maybe I just kept feeling like I wasn't enough, you know? And one of the things that she told me that I was so grateful for, because after that, phew, I was gone. Like, you can tell me nothing.
What she tell you? What she tell you? I need to know so I can go pew too. You're so funny.
Was, why do you need all these things? You're doing it anyway. It's already on your heart. You already have the business plan. It's already like on your spirit to do. Why do you need to do anything else? You have it all. You know, you can do it from now. You don't have to go get all these other things. And I was like, huh. Really? She was like, look, you're doing this, you're doing that, because she came over and I was doing actually a retreat with her. Like, I do individual retreats where I would do where I started off doing, and I still do it now, but now I do them in larger groups. But I started off doing just one-on-one retreats where I can basically hone in on Reiki treatments for you, your spiritual aspect, do readings for you, do we did the meditation. We would do like a regression, like a past life regression meditation. And then I would feed you like vegan foods. And I would literally wait on you hand and foot for about 3 or 4 hours, and sometimes longer, depending upon what your needs were. And so I had invited her over to get one of those so she can just see how I was doing and see if she had any, questions or anything. But she loved it. And everybody who came loved it. And most of them wanted to spend the night. So then I took it to a next step where I said, well, okay, well, if they want to spend the night, you see all this grass and nature behind me. I have a pretty big area where my home is. So I said, let me start doing the overnight retreat. So then I started doing the glamping experience. So I wish I could show you guys what that looks like, but you have to go to my page. You can go to Graceful Healing Retreat on Instagram, and you can see pictures of what the actual glamping experience looks like, with the plush pillows and the beautiful bed, and it's really your own tent glamping experience. And so that way you can spend the night, enjoy a night in the wilderness, looking at the stars. Then that's how I just branched off to doing the retreats, the overnight retreats. So everything really was a process. I want to say it just kind of came naturally. That's why it really was so easy for me.
No, that's interesting, because when you mentioned the term glamping at first, I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of tell where this is going. That's this kind of glamorous kind of camping experience. And it's funny because people have always, have asked me, like, Sharifah, do you go camping? I'm like, yes, in hotels, but not outside. I'm not that girl, that woman that you want to just take outside in the woods, but I might go glamping because it sounds fun. It's, my own tent. And especially if it's like a weekend overnight kind of thing, but when they track back into the woods and all that, that's it. Honestly, I'm honest with myself and others. It's not me, but it sounds fun. It sounds great. And I might check yours out. Where are you located? What state are you in?
I'm actually out of the Maryland, D.C. area, so not too far from Washington, D.C., maybe about 15, 20 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. So in a very rural area. Like I said, like my house is literally just surrounded by trees, and it's just, it's just very, just if you're into nature, I have a pond, I have a waterfall. I mean, if you're really into just grounding yourself and getting into that natural aspect of yourself and identifying who you are from the core, because that's the one thing I work on the most, is identifying what your core needs are, so you can kind of address that and then move on and kind of do little rituals and things of that nature, albeit, throwing a letter into a fire pit or whatever it is that you may need to do at that time to kind of make yourself whole and get you to a more whole place, just help you on your journey. That's in essence what I do.
Now, I caught what you said. You said throwing a letter into a fire pit. So I kind of got an idea of what that is. When people, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is not my area of expertise, but when people need to forgive, when people need to let go, maybe it's even forgiving themselves, something that, I've done and I've been holding on to and I'm beating myself up, that I can write it out, throw it into the fire and just release it. Is that what you were saying?
In essence, absolutely, yes. So whether it's for you or whether it be a moon ritual or whether it be a goddess ritual, whatever it is that you need to do, we identify what that is, we address it, we deal with it, try to dig that out from the core. So that's where the Reiki and the clearing and the healing aspect comes in, where I start to clear all of that energy out of your atmosphere and then help you to address it and then help you to give it away, if that's something you no longer want to hold on to anymore. So yes, I don't, put some sticks out in the grass. I actually use a fire pit.
No, I love it. I just want to say good afternoon to Daryl. Daryl is joining us in the chat. He says, #spirituality, my favorite subject. And that's exactly what we're discussing today. Daryl, thank you for joining us. And back to spirituality and back to what you were saying, one of the things that I fell in love with was, you said, the waterfall. And it's interesting because I was born in Washington, D.C., but I left there when I was 2. And then I had this whole idea that I wanted to go back to where I was born. And so I moved back in 1995. And then the blizzard of 96 hit and I ran back to California. I was like, I apologize. I'm sorry. I'll never leave again. But I have friends there to this day who have beautiful homes overlooking the Potomac. And if those homes were here in California, they would be $2.5, $8 million homes. But there is just like, this is our neighborhood. This is who we are. So yes, I have to go check out that waterfall.
It's beautiful. Actually, I had it created. It's man-made, but nonetheless, it was man-made.
I like man-made. That's better. It probably has less bugs and creepy crawly things.
I don't know about that because the nature has taken it over. Okay. The frogs have come. I mean, they're all out there like, this is mine. I came home one day and there was a deer inside my pond. I was like, what you doing? Drinking water, just chilling, I mean, literally, and my pond is only, I want to say maybe about 15 feet wide. So, I mean, it's a nice circle, but I said, how'd you get in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So you have all of this going on. That's why I said I love your hustle. I love your grind. Every show you were a different person. I was like, Marlana, is that you? Because that wasn't the Marlana from the last show. And this is the Marlana from all the other shows. Because now you're like margaritas. I'm like, can you pass one virtually? Can you virtually give me a margarita? I want a margarita too.
I'm going to have to send you one. You just send me your P.O. box. I got you. Actually, I wanted to send you a CBD party pack. That's what I wanted. So what I started on more recently was, again, when it comes to all the different ideas of what you're doing, especially during this time, my goal was, and actually it's interesting because it happened right before everybody was quarantined. My goal was to pull other people in on what I was doing. What I recognized, in order to be successful, many times you cannot do it on your own. You need a group or a family or loving people around you or a business or, people working with you. So as of last year, I started bringing people in. Like I said, I ordered a publicist. Listen to me, I got me a publicist who really helped me with my grind and put me out there and really took me outside of my comfort zone. That's what I really enjoyed about having a publicist, because in many cases, a lot of times you try to do things on your own, but you don't know really how to do it. And you many times may limit yourself. So I got the publicist in order to take me outside of my comfort zone. Like even when I started doing tarot readings and things of that nature out in public, even with my YouTube channel, I started off with someone else almost because I didn't want to be the face. So I was behind the scenes for a long time, for many years. And I did not want to be the face of it. I grew up actually Christian. So just to give you a little my background, I grew up Christian. Like I said, I went to college and, got my degree in accounting and actually worked for the federal government.
Oh, wow. And now you're a tarot reader.
And for many years, I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing. And then I want to say about 13 years ago, when I was I'm not going to tell you my age, but it was one of my big birthdays. And I went to Hawaii where my aunt lived, and she took me to a spiritual woman from Hawaii. And she had told the family about her and how she had pretty much told her some things about the family that she didn't know about. And she called my mother and was like, is this true? And she was like, well, actually, yes, you do have a few other extra sisters and brothers that you don't know about. Just
wow.
So she was like, wow. So when I went and visited her, she was like, would you like to go? And I was very interested in going. And really, I wanted to go because I wanted her to validate my gifts. And that's not something I could have done in church. That's not something I could have done in my current environment. So to go all the way to Hawaii to get someone who I do not know to validate my gifts, that's something I wanted to do and felt like I needed to do before I kind of ventured out on my spiritual journey. So that's what I did. And I went out there, and I had a great time with her. And what she said as I walked out the door, because I didn't hear it yet, right? Because I didn't want to say nothing. A lot of times people testing, tarot readers and testing.
Yeah.
And you're like, I just want to know if she's really going to tell me what I need to hear, And she told me as I was walking out the door, she was like, you're so gifted. And she said, you have a sixth sense, is what she said. And I was like, boom, that's what I was waiting to hear. So after that, I then continued to kind of, mold my gift. But again, I could not do it, where I was most familiar, and that was at church. So I had to start digging and looking outside of that in order to grow my gifts.
Okay, so this is interesting to me because I'm a tarot reader. I also teach people how to read tarot, and there always seems to be some type of conflict between the church and tarot or astrology or numerology or whatever. And I'm like, but it's the most spiritual, one of the most spiritual things that can be, because it's a direct connection with God. It's you're directly connecting to receive the messages that you need to receive. And we get messages all the time. And so I agree with her in just simply saying it's the sixth sense. Everybody has that intuition. They have that gut feeling. Some people call it the knowingness, but it's just like any other skill you have. Some people were born better able to sing than other people. Some people can dance better. Some people are just naturally doing numbers in their heads when they were born. And then there are some people who have strengthened their sixth sense, and they just have these gifts and talents and abilities that, if they use them correctly, can be used to help mankind. So I love
Absolutely. And, it was interesting what you said, in regards to that, because when it comes to the church, many times, I would tell anybody, many of the clients that I have that I coach and help them with their spirituality, usually it's a battle within trying to deal with the way you were raised, your upbringing, your spiritual beliefs, and then it tying to your intuition or following your gut instinct and things of that nature. So what I do is many times I tell people, really, this is that relationship with God that they tell you about in church all the time. Strengthening the relationship with God. Your relationship with God is the most important thing. So I got to a certain point, especially hearing that in church so often, all the time. And I could tell you a quick story just about how I finally just went out on my own. And unfortunately, it probably was like the last time I went to church regularly. And I was looking for a message. I was having dreams about my pastor not, being okay with what I was doing or what I was considering doing, such as going out and helping people using my gift. I had all kinds of things that was going on within me, but I rationalized it with every single word that came out of his mouth. And many times it had to do with, you have the strength, you have the belief, it's your relationship with God. And that is what I tend to speak to my clients about, especially those who are battling with the religious aspect versus that spiritual aspect or your relationship with God. So the one thing I always tell people is, the one thing they always tell you in church is, make sure you have a relationship with God. Why is it that your rules in religion are supposed to supersede my relationship with God? So anybody who comes up against me in regards to what my beliefs are and how I communicate with God. Because as far as I'm concerned, the cards are just a conduit. It's just a tool that I use. I'm the conduit. The cards are just a tool. I could get any card and just literally tap a piece of paper and give it to you and say, this is what the message is. You know, that's how important I know my relationship with God is. And it's so funny because recently I went to an advanced mediumship training, and unfortunately I was the only sister there of my anything in my color. And
yes, I'm with you. I know the feeling well.
I was the only one, and so I went live on YouTube immediately. Why am I the only one here? I didn't understand that. And I mean, I did understand it, but I was like, we need to address this because there's no fear. And a lot of times we are conditioned to believe that our spirituality that comes from our ancestors, that comes from our background, that comes from our lineage is something wrong with it. And it's nothing wrong with it. So, don't get me started because I'm getting deep right now. I'm about to start looking like a New York in a minute, like, hold up.
I was getting interested. I was like, go girl, you tell them, because I've been trying to tell them, so don't calm down now. This is the halfway point. This is the point where it gets good, when you get comfortable and you start telling everybody. No, but I can relate. I can definitely relate. And one of the things I teach people one way or another is exactly what you said about you being the conduit, because I believe a lot of people forget that the modality is just one way of communicating. And so when I listen to people and they say, well, the card said, and the card said, and the card said, I'm like, okay, well, I can tell where you are because you are only reading the cards. You're not reading the energy. You're not reading the person. You're not open to whatever messages come through. And a lot of it is semantics, terminology, verbiage, however you want to call it. But I just can and notice what I notice. And so my grandmother was a reader. She read playing cards. She didn't read tarot cards. Then she went from reading playing cards to not using any cards at all. She could sit in a room. You'd be sitting right there, Marlana, and she would tell you something and you go, there is no way humanly possible that someone could know that. And then she taught my mother, who was her daughter-in-law, she taught my mother how to read, and my mother taught me how to read. But I've just found that when people don't understand something, when people aren't familiar with something, there's a sense of fear of the unknown. So it has to be bad, it has to be wrong. And I'm just happy to see so many people, especially so many people who look like us, who are taking that step and saying, you know what, maybe there is something more out there.
Absolutely. I know I did research on the tarot cards some years ago, not some years ago. I think it was for an article that I was doing, and I was surprised to see that cards were all the way. I mean, people thought, I think it was out of Rome or it was out of Morocco, like that area, but it came from Africa first. Like they had it on rocks, like stenciled. Different cards, and then it just kind of transitioned over time out of Africa. So, when people kind of claim that certain things aren't real or what have you, I just find it to be very interesting. It's just funny how you teach someone about faith, the evidence of things not seen and or heard, and then on the other aspect, you want to control how they're doing it because it benefits you. And I have a problem with that. And so, as you know, from me being on your round table many times, I have a problem with fear tactics, and anything that's going to hold someone back from their purpose and from their dream. And I feel as though there's a lot of people out here, and right now I feel as though with what's going on with the pandemic right now, this is allowing people to see the things that they need and things that they may not need, things that they were holding on to that perhaps was a crutch and no longer need. And it's so funny you said that about how she stopped using the cards, because I was told by my ancestors for a while now, let the cards go. And I'm like, but I love them. Like, I'm literally creating an oracle deck right now. I was like, that's how much I love them. But I know the reason why I'm still stuck to them is because I'm creating an oracle deck. I'm also doing a guided book to go with it. And the whole goal is to help people to do this on their own by themselves. And if they can identify their emotions, because with me, I'm more clairsentient than anything, for lack of a better word, just to have a word to call it. I'm more empathic. I feel more than anything, which is why I'm so good at doing the energy cleansing and things of that nature. So because I feel everything about me is emotion based, and I'm a Cancer too, if you want to get into it.
Well, I guess that makes sense, because I'm claircognizant and I'm an Aries. So I guess that makes sense.
So that's the one I identify with the most because I feel, and because of that, I wanted to create an Oracle deck that embodied that. And so as a result, I know I'm not going to be over with the cards until at least that deck comes out, because each deck that I buy, I'm always buying new decks, the ones that really draw me to them. And I'm always getting new ideas. So as I'm finishing up the deck, and the deck is going to look like the Divine Woman, and actually look a lot like me all throughout the deck. And I thought it was important that we had something to represent some of our divine feminines that look like me. So I definitely wanted to encourage people to follow their own intuition. And that's something else I talk about on my YouTube channel as well, that everybody can do this. And that was one of the things that I loved to hear when I was at the mediumship training, when I was doing more of the mediumship advanced training, which to me was more of it wasn't really about the training as it was getting more hands-on experience. You have 50 people in the room and you're working everybody in the room. And so you're really strengthening your capability. And with me, because I am very emotional, and again, that clairsentience really comes up in me. Usually when a message would come through, many times I'd hold it back, or I wouldn't be ready for it just yet. And I'd get really too emotional and it would just pour out of me. And therefore the tears would come and the cleansing would come. And I wanted to control that. So I felt like that would be a good place to do that, and it actually helped me tremendously. But one of the things they kept saying there was everybody has the capability to do it, and I love to hear that, because people always feel like somebody else can do it, but you can't do it, and we all have intuition. Follow it.
But they also may feel that someone else is special, like they can do this because they're special, as opposed to it being something that you can learn. Whenever I teach my students, the first thing that I teach them is that the cards are for confirmation only. They're for confirmation. So if you haven't received a message, or you don't have an idea of what you feel or what you're thinking, then what are you confirming? You know, that's just like you trying to confirm my address, but I haven't given it to you. It's like there's nothing to confirm, you know. So I try to get them, so even if they're using the cards, and some people like to use the cards, some people don't, but to figure out what message you're receiving, and exactly what you said, how you receive your messages, because people too tend to receive them in one strong way and then have a second balance. Like for me, like I said, I'm claircognizant, clear knowing. I get information, I don't know how I know it. There's no basis, there's no feeling, there's no sense. It's just I just know that that door is about to open. I don't know how, it just happens. But then I also may hear something, be clear audience. And I may hear a message, and I might hear something. I'm like, okay. And then I'll get confirmation that that message was correct. So I always tell people, take the time to sit with the message, sit for a moment, receive it, let it come into your spirit, and then give the message, or do the reading, so the reading can confirm the message. Because I use the cards. I don't do readings that often, unless it's for a friend, and that's mainly because I'll tell you my little funny story. It was about 2 years ago. I remember it strongly. It was Labor Day weekend, and I was on Yelp, and for whatever reason, Yelp made some algorithm change, and I wound up being #1. And everybody was like, that was great. And I was like, that's the last time I did reading for the public, because people were calling me, oh, can you tell me this? Can you tell me that? And I'm like, no, I'm here to consult, to help you, not to just give you, fortune telling, cookie cutter, yes, Bob's going to ask you to marry him. Maybe Bob is going to ask you to marry him. That doesn't mean that you're going to live happily ever after. Let's take a look at Bob. Let's take a look at you. Let's take a look at where you are, and so sometimes I have to redirect people from what they want, or what they want to hear. And on Yelp and certain things, they want a quick answer. As you can tell from knowing me, I am not a quick answer kind of person. I like to talk. I like to explain. Let's have a conversation. So I just said, you know what, it's not for me. And I think a lot of people don't understand it. People would call and say, can you tell me, like I said, if Bob is going to marry me? And I say, well, it's coming to me. I feel like Bob is going to marry you. And then they say, well, what about Tim? I'm like, who is Tim? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, please, like, you are, you know what I mean? Like, you a hot mess. I don't want it to. And I had another lady who called and was like, I have a whole bunch of money. I can pay for this. She had several jewelry stores. And she would call me continuously and ask me to read everybody in her life. Like if you were her best friend, she would call and say, Sharifah, my best friend is Marlana. Can you tell me about her? Can you tell me her energy? I'm like, I'm not gonna read. That's like rule number one. You don't go into anybody's house uninvited. I can't just go read her to tell you if she's a good person, bad person. You know what I mean? Like that's not what I'm here to do. And so I had all these weird experiences. And let me give you one more quick one where I was trying to help this lady, and I told her, I said, I feel like you're unemployed. What did I say? I said, you work for yourself. And she says, no. And I said, well, that's what's coming through. I don't know why, but they're just telling me you work for yourself and some are things you need to do. And she was like, no, I don't. And I said, but if a message comes through, it's there for a reason. Like I get an attitude with my readings. Like I know I'm right. So finally she says to me, she was like, no, I'm not. I'm self-employed. I was like, isn't that the same thing? And actually, you know what? I'm not a people person. I'm not. That's why I sit at home, quarantine in my house, because I go out and people, and then I come back home and remember why I don't people. I need that margarita. I think that's what the problem is.
I know, but it's so real. You're so right.
I'm telling you, like these are like we should do a show together, Marlana, like the tarot horror, like horror stories from people because people will never. I tell people this is one of the expressions I honestly tell people: the day I have seen it all is the day I die. Because until then, it's like people will just surprise you. You'd be like, what were you thinking? What were you? How did you even come up with that? But maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me,
No.
Marlana.
It's not. And I think one of the things I can say, like I can say even about my marriages, I would tell anybody, I've been married twice. I don't have a problem telling you how it is, what's going to be. If you want to learn something about yourself, get married. If you want to learn something about yourself, do tarot. If you want to learn something about yourself, do things for other people, because it will definitely show you where your strengths and weaknesses are, what your life and dislikes are. What many people come to us to get that kind of advice for is because they really don't know themselves and they need to find themselves and they're looking for that guidance to find themselves. One of the things, like I told you before, I'm a fifth generation to it that I know of. I'm sure it goes further back, and I remember you saying at least three generations yourself. And one of the things that I learned is, that's what you know of. And it's really about you trying to find your power in that. And by knowing that and learning that later, it was easier for me to kind of get that validation within myself. One of the things that I wish would have happened, I wish it would have been brought down generation to generation to generation. I wish, my grandmother did pass it down to my mother and my mother passed it down to me. It's so interesting because me and my mother, we will be far apart. I remember one time I came home, my daughter locked the keys in my car. We were about a mile away from home. I made my daughter carry the groceries because it was like the second or third time she did it. And I was like, you're just being careless, So this is what's about to happen. You're about to carry these groceries home. And I didn't have the keys to get in the house. And I just kept saying out loud, Mom, come home. Mom, come directly home. I need you to come home, Mom. Just come home. Yes, I know. Just come home, right? So I'm just saying this out loud as I'm walking home, right? Like a mile and a half or something. And she came home, and next thing you know, as we're walking up to the house, she comes around the corner. She said, for some reason, I was about to go get my nails done, but something just kept telling me to come home.
Yes.
And I love it. And she doesn't know. I mean, she doesn't feel like she has that, but when she goes with me to like the festivals and when I go to different spiritualist festivals and things of that nature, she's right there with me. And I'm now trying to teach her. But she now knows that she knows. We've always had this connection, but you just don't know.
But that's so interesting. I'm just listening to you. I'm like, oh my God, that's my story. I've been divorced twice, doing the tarot reading, the connection with my mom. There, like that, I give you an example that I had something like that with my mom. But I was reading a book one night, laying in the bed, reading the book. And all of a sudden I just heard this voice, and the voice kept talking to me. And the next morning when I got up, I was just like, okay, I imagined that. And then I heard the voice say, ask your mother, she'll know. And the next day I asked her, And I said, Mom, did anything weird happen? She was like, no. I was like, nothing weird happened. She's like, nothing. And I was like, but nothing. And she's like, what are you looking for? I was like, I don't know. I wanted to know if you thought anything happened. And then she was like, no. And then she's like, wait a minute, there is something that happened. And I was like, what? She was like, I was laying in the bed, sleep last night, and I just woke up and I saw a figure at the end of my bed. And I knew it was passed on because it was basically see-through. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, they wanted you to know this. And then I gave her a message, but it was just interesting that it was, again, confirmation. I had to, talk to my mom, and she had to tell me what she saw, and I had to tell her what I heard in order for us to have confirmation. And that's why I tell people, people can tell me and say whatever it is that they want, but I can give you story after story after story where there is no humanly way possible that it could be anything other than, what it was. So I'm gonna have to fly to DC. I think that's how I'm gonna solve this problem. Not this week, but soon. And we gonna hang out by the waterfall. It's gonna be summer though. I'm gonna tell you that right. It's not gonna be winter. Okay, it's not gonna be anywhere near.
I did do the retreat in the winter, and the ladies were cold, and many of them did eventually come in, but some of them stayed out there. I must say, I tried my best to keep it heated out there, but it was like 32 degrees. It was
Marlana, I don't go outside in the winter in Long Beach, California. You know what I mean? Like, I got friends in Chicago, one of my closest friends. I talk to her all the time. And I'm like, it is cold. She used to live here. I'm like, it's cold. She's like, what's the temperature? I'm like, it's 60 degrees. She's like, Sharifah, it is -0 here. I'm like, wow, exactly. I'm cold. You know what I mean? I'm cold. I know you're colder, but I'm cold.
Yes, I never felt cold I never was in Chicago when it was that cold, but I went to Missouri during the whole Michael Brown shooting, and we were out there, picketing. I do all kinds of things, FYI. So it was out there marching and picketing and things of that nature. And I had never been out there when it was so cold. And I think at one point it was like -9 degrees or something. I was like, what's going on here? I've never been anywhere that cold, because DC does not get that cold.
Yes. But that's why I thank God for the blizzard of '96, because I hadn't returned. I was working for Transworld Airlines. My first job out of high school was for TWA. And one of the beautiful things about TWA was they had this kind of deal where because you could relocate anywhere they had an airport, anywhere they had a call center, but if you didn't like it, you can transfer back within 6 months. So it's kind of like a cooling off period per se. Okay. And so I was like, yeah, I want to go to DC. That's where I was born. I want to raise my family there. Let me move to DC. And in the end of 95, and then the blizzard of 96 hit. And so I was at home, and they were calling, I was at Ronald Reagan. They was calling me from the airport, DCA, and I said, Sharifah, where are you? I'm like, I'm at home. And he's like, but why aren't you at work? And I said, but the snow's waist high. And they said, I know, but why aren't you at work? And I said, the snow is waist high. And they said, but you have to come to work. I said, no, you got to go into your system and book me the next flight to California, because I am not staying here. Like, you actually expect me to leave the house? I'm not.
But it's interesting, because the last 5 or 10 years, I want to say the last 5 or 10 years haven't been that bad, but at least the last 5 years, it has not been that bad. I don't know what's changing as far as the atmosphere of the world, and if we're becoming more south or whatever, if the North Poles are turning to the south, I don't know what has happened, but it has not been as cold here lately. I know what you're talking about, but it has not been that bad ever since.
Yes. Now, the reason I love all of my shows, from the Roundtable Talk Show to Ask Sharifah Videocast, is the one thing some guests don't really like is that I have no idea where the conversation is going to go. We sit down, you talk, I talk, we have a conversation, and wherever we wind up is where we wind up. But I do want to go back to some of your products again. I know you showed us the first one. Can you show us a few more before we close out?
Absolutely. What I want to show you is the CBD party pack.
That you're sending me?
This is the CBD. Can you see that? The
CBD party that's pack. The one you're sending me?
Yes, this is the one you're getting. Okay. So I want to show you in the pack. Okay. So actually the pack here, I mean, it's really cute the way it is. And it says CBD party here. This is our little emblem. And what you get in the party pack is I hope you can see it. What you get in the party pack is you get this little card that kind of shows you how to make the CBD margaritas. It gives you a list of the items that you have in the CBD party pack. And then in the CBD party pack, you'll see that you have right here, this is a little CBD margarita where you have your personal size margarita. And then you also have like a little CBD coffee here. You have and this is a K-cup for those of you who have a Keurig. And then we have the little CBD roll up if you're interested in rolling things up. But a lot of these packs can kind of be custom if that's something that you want. We also have the CBD gummies. I hope you can see that there. I know the light is probably kind of, there you go.
There you go.
The CBD gummies, and then you get a little shot glass. So you can just kind of make your own. So this is how you actually use the shot glass. So you can put the shots, so you can put your shot, of your tequila or whatever it is that you want, or your water, in order to make your margarita or to make your Cosmic Cosmos. So we have basically large containers as well as smaller ones, and I'm just making them different ways for people. And so you have also the body butter that comes in it. It's a CBD body butter that comes in it as well. I did want to show you what that looked like, because it looks like this here. I mean, it's actually whipped. It smells good. So it smells of vanilla. I mean, this one here smells of lavender. So it's a lavender chamomile body butter. And then in some cases, we also add like the little, we have sprays. We have the, I think it's right here. The hand sanitizer, the all natural hand sanitizer. So everything we do, and this is the gummies here. So everything we're doing is still natural. It's still good for you. The whole point is just really to give you something that's good for you. And during this time, I think I call it kind of my anxiety pack. You know, this is perfect for if you have anxiety.
Yes, yes. If not, I'll have me a good time, and I'll feel good. I love it. And I love the fact that you have the spray, because that's what everybody is worried about right now. All the stores, nothing has disinfecting spray. So I think that's wonderful. I have enjoyed speaking with you yet again. I'm pretty sure we'll speak again. We'll be back on the Round Table Talk Show. We'll do this again.
I will.
We'll do a show about readings. Two things before I let you get out of here, let you run away, but let's talk a little bit about some of the videos that you've been doing on your channel.
Yeah, so more recently, I've been doing the weekly videos. The weekly videos are to encourage you, give you advice for the week, give you the overall energy that you may encounter this week. Like, I mean, when I first started, it was it was hard for me to kind of start, because all of the fear that was around, and either it was in TV or it was just the energies that were around. I was very hesitant to come on. So when I was on your first round table, I was just saying how I had paused for a moment, and it took me a while to kind of get back to it. So ever since I started that one, including the energies, and did a ritual online and trying to kind of clear the energies for everyone, once I did that, I've been going full-fledged ahead. So every week on Sundays between 10 and 11, I'll let you know. But normally between 10 and 11 on Sunday Eastern Standard Time, I am talking about the energies that you may encounter for the week, more so about what's going on in life. And then for each zodiac sign, I give advice on how to deal with those energies, some things that may come up. I'm live also, so I answer questions for people also. And then just this past Friday, I started the Divine Feminine chat, which is talking about divine DFF, Divine Feminine Forever. That's again helping you with the Divine Feminine. The one thing that I'm all about has been uplifting Divine Feminine to their power, because it's necessary in order for us to become balanced. You know, it's always been a patriarchal structure, and it's really necessary for the feminine to rise to their ultimate power, so we can really go full-fledged ahead. I feel like it's a lot of things that's been holding the feminine back, making us feel like, you know, we're not enough, or what you provide is worthless. And what I am teaching is what you provide is worth so much value, and how you really need to increase your value, recognize your value, and all that other good stuff. So how do you deal with relationships, being the Divine Feminine? How do you deal with your family, being the Divine Feminine? How do you grow as a Divine Feminine, especially when we need you the most? Right now, it's time to rise up. So I just started that on Friday. And then I also do the monthly readings, where I go by each sign, some of the energies that each sign may specifically basically deal with during a week, during that month, challenges they may be dealing with during the month, and I give them advice, and even around love as well. So it's just an overall view for the entire collective. It's not individual at that aspect.
That is wonderful. I love how you have so much going on. You look amazing. I love the photos in the back, everything, the high priestess. Now we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And at the end of every show, I love to allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to everyone who's listening live, especially Daryl, who's been tuning in. He said, Washington, D.C. sounds great. The deers are taking over. He said, you're too funny, Sharifah Hardy. So yes, speaking directly to Daryl, to everyone who's watching this in the archives, just give them a few final words you'd like for them to take away from your appearance.
I definitely would like for you guys to follow me on HP Marlana on YouTube. I also have CBDparty.com. Please check me out there if you're interested in CBD party packs or CBD party events when we finally do get out of this quarantine. Also, you can also find me at Graceful Healing Retreat for different items. So I would definitely suggest you contact me at gracefulhealingretreat.com if you're interested in any spiritual healing, things of that nature. What I do want to let the entire world know is be hopeful, keep hope alive. Things are getting better. Identify what your new norm is and start visualizing that for yourself. As you visualize it for yourself, it then can be. So it's all about this manifestation right now. I even realized yesterday, I was out in all the pollen, and usually I react to the pollen. I just realized that although we're where we are right now, there's less smog, there's less going on that's basically inundating our natural resources. So it's actually taking a turn for the better in essence. So I'm always that cup half full person. I have lost some people, but I still recognize that they will still be with me, and hold on to the positiveness, hold on to the love, and be loving to one another.
That is wonderful, definitely wonderful words to live by. I want to thank you for being a guest on today's episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast. I want to thank everyone who tuned in live, as well as everyone who's watching it in the archives. I definitely appreciate your support, but I invite you to go check out Marlana, everything that she has going on. Order one of those CBD party packs, some of the disinfectant, just order a whole bunch of stuff, have a reading, tune into her YouTube channel, but be a part of what she has going on, because she has definitely been a supporter of Sharifah Hardy, as Sharifah, and the Roundtable Talk Show. If you're interested in being a guest, please visit the website at AskSharifah.com. Until tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, when I'll be back, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.